The door closed on its own. There was no one nearby. No draft strong enough to move Steele. No guard walking the range. And yet, the sound carried through the corridor like a gunshot. Moments later, footsteps. Measured, deliberate. They crossed a cell block that had been empty for years. Then, whoever or whatever was walking stopped. Then came another sound.
It's like they're trying to lure you back down the hallway. So it's like, hey, I see you down there. You want to come visit me? Like, no, I'm okay right where I'm at. They are notorious for poking their heads out or even like half body, like out the cell looking down at you, and then they'll I have no need to be in that room right now.
I'm Nadine Bailey, and this is Haunted Canada. Today, I'm joined by Bill Steele and Natasha Marsh. They're the owners of a unique bed and breakfast that once held men who would never leave alive. Some were forgotten. Others refused to leave. This is the Dorchester Jail. In a quiet corner of New Brunswick, east of the Bay of Fundy, there's a massive stone prison that has stood for over a century. As the salt mist drifts in off the water and gravel roads curve through quiet fields, the solid and unyielding prison stood guard as a beacon of swift justice. But long before it was built, this was the traditional, unceded, and unsurrendered territories of the Wabanaki Confederacy, specifically the Mi'kmaq people. In the early 1800s, as settlers came in and the region developed, Dorchester became a focal point in the province of New Brunswick, a place where disputes were settled, sentences were pronounced, and where justice took shape. Bill and Natasha said that's when the Dorchester Jail was built.
So the jail was built in 1875 and it decommissioned just a little under 30 years ago in 1998. And then we've had possession of the building since 2017. But the jail used to house a little bit of everyone and everything, from a stolen pack of gum right up to the more extreme crimes of rape and murder. It was a fun house for everybody.
Yeah, this is initially the penitentiary for all of the Maritimes for about 5 years. And then the actual Dorchester Penitentiary, which is just up the road here, it was built 5 years after this building here. So in New Brunswick, and the people kind of say, well, why were people executed in the provincial jail and not the federal? You would think it'd be the federal, but in New Brunswick, the province was responsible for that.
It is a massive red brick structure with thick and heavy walls, tall, narrow windows set deep into the masonry. Inside, a long central hallway runs the length of the building, and on either side, there are rows of small cells, rooms that once held prisoners. Natasha and Bill said that they now hold beds for guests brave enough to spend the night.
So the jail is kind of separated into 4 different quarters, or wings if you want to call them that. So downstairs we have 2 cell blocks. One of those cell blocks we use for our Airbnb. There's 6 jail cells, and that was what they used to call the light side. And those cells used to house 2 men per cell. And then the other cell block downstairs is called the dark side. And that's where the more heinous criminals were housed before they would have been brought upstairs into death row. And then the room that we're currently sitting in to do this interview with you, this room was a general population cell for up to 30 men. So at max capacity, the jail could house up to 55 prisoners.
There was also females here at one time, up until the 60s, I understand, and they were held in here from day one. And we have some documents with that, and they were most likely in here for bootlegging. A lot of women came here for bootlegging.
And prostitution.
Prostitution, yeah.
While the jail held everyone from petty criminals to murderers, it was also the site of executions, including New Brunswick's last double hanging. One of the most infamous stories connected to the jail is that of the Bannister family, a story that begins in poverty and ends in tragedy. Arthur Bannister was just 19, and his brother Daniel, 20 years old. They had grown up in the backwoods just outside of town, a place of marshlands, rocky capes, and long mudflats from the Bay of Fundy. This is where the tide could erase footprints in a matter of hours. But it was their mother, May Bannister, who would be their downfall. May was known as the community bully, loud, aggressive, and always looking for money. Bill said she went around telling different men she was pregnant with their child, demanding money.
There was a lady that was going around Moncton, and she was blackmailing men. She was sleeping with them and blackmailing men, saying, I had a baby, it's yours, you owe me some money. And she'd go to the next guy and say, I had a baby, it's yours, give me some money. I had a baby, it's yours, give me. So it was a doll. And somebody said, I want to see the real baby. I think that's a doll you have. So she went home and she told her two sons, the neighbors up the road had a baby, the Lake family. Go up there and take their baby and bring it to me so I can show it to these men. When the two boys went up there with the sister as well, they grabbed the baby and killed the parents and another child. So it was a triple murder. Brought the baby back and gave it to the mom.
The Bannister brothers were eventually arrested and tried at the Dorchester courthouse, which is next door to the jail, where they were both found guilty and sentenced to death. The brothers would spend their final days on death row. On September 23, 1936, the Bannister brothers were led to the scaffolding to be executed back-to-back in a double hanging. It was a gruesome affair. The same rope will be placed around the men's necks. Bill said it's the only double hanging ever carried out in New Brunswick, and this one was particularly grim.
So the idea that they put the both boys back to back, the two brothers, they were 19 and 20 years old, they put the rope around their necks. And the one boy, there was some mental health issues, let's say. He wasn't the brightest young guy. And they had to try him twice, actually, to convict him. He said, hey, what are you doing? Like, they woke him up at 1 o'clock in the morning from jail, and they said, what are you doing? And they loosened it, and I always get kind of broken up when I say this. It's hard to say this. They said, son, say a prayer. And they said something, and that's when they tightened it up, and they dropped them down to the first floor with a trap door. And they would have dangled there for, I think, 21 minutes. And they dropped them, I think it was 1:10 in the morning. They dangled till that time, and then they were cut down.
The brothers were buried at the back of the jail.
Buried in the backyard. They buried them 4 feet deep, and they put a lot of lye or lime or something on top of them, try to make them decompose more. And the rope that they executed them with, they threw it on top of them there and covered up, and they're buried in an unmarked grave out the back.
Natasha said it seemed like they wanted to make an example out of the Bannister brothers.
Very sadly and kind of disturbing a little bit, they really wanted to make a statement with the boys. And so where the boys were hung together, they are actually buried together in one single pine box. And in order to make them both fit, they actually dismembered Daniel into 5 pieces and laid him in the voids around his brother, the same young man that was asking why the rope was around his neck before they were hung.
As for the mother, May Bannister, she was convicted of harboring a child and sentenced to 3.5 years in prison. After she served her time, she returned to live out her days in Moncton, New Brunswick. Before she died in 1971, she was quoted as saying, "Bury me deep enough so the crows can't peck out my eyes." At first glance, it's just another correctional facility, but for more than a century, the Dorchester Jail stood as a place of endings, until 2017, when Bill purchased the building.
Grew up working for the city of Toronto. I was lucky enough to afford a house before they came unaffordable. And I was looking for something to retire in the future. that was unique. I was looking underground bunker. I was looking for abandoned hotel, an old motel, something like that in the Maritimes, preferably Nova Scotia. And old, been in jail, this and that. And I came across this in New Brunswick. And I said, hey, there it is. It was a lot of money. And I kept kind of wishing, I wish it came down in price so I could buy it and keep it for my retirement. And it did come down to a reasonable price. I had actually opened my mouth. I said, if it ever hit this, I'm going to go and take a look at it. And I kind of obligated myself, which was a good thing. And we came out here and took a look at the place and ended up buying it.
On Valentine's Day of all days to come to jail.
Bill said with his wife Natasha, they left Toronto and moved to Dorchester, which had a population of just over 900 people, and turned the old jail into a bed and breakfast. They also made it their home.
We live right here.
Right in the warden's quarters.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
The old warden's quarters from 1875. It was later converted to offices, and we converted it somewhat back into a residence. And it's beautiful, and it's just right over there. And that's where the staff would have been. We have a big window that looks out into the jail that we can keep an eye on everything. We made it into shelves. That's where I keep my human skulls.
But Bill said something happened the first day he moved in. Something he still can't explain.
And I felt something on my legs. What the hell? It was like, those fuzzy, cheap blankets, but like frozen. It was rubbing up against my leg. Coldness was rubbing up against my leg. And then it all went away. And then it came back up again. I'm going, oh shit, I seen this shit on TV. That thing's going to go right through me. And lo and behold, I'm telling you, there was a feeling of something that went right through my body. And I'll tell you what it was. It was something checking me out to see what the hell's up with this guy coming in the jail. And that energy went right through me to check me out. And I don't know if it knew I'd bought the place or whatever. And the feeling that I got after that, I was feeling I had a bad leg and I had a bad back, and they're both back now, so come back and do it again. But I didn't feel no pain in my body for about 6 months. And I was able to get all the everything up to speed there. I wasn't in the greatest health, but I felt so great after that. I had energy that you wouldn't believe. I felt refreshed. When that thing went through me, it recharged me.
Bill believes whoever or whatever is living in the building has accepted him. But over time, Bill and Natasha began to hear things and have their own strange encounters.
You hear things, you see things, you feel things, you smell things. I myself personally have been touched a few times. We've had quite a few of our guests claim to be touched, and more specifically poked.
Poking.
Downstairs in one of our bed and breakfast cells is cell 5. And actually written on the wall, it says liquor in the front, poker in the rear. Kind of funny. And there's some playing cards written on the walls in there, like a set of poker. But it's funny. We've had 400 people that don't know each other, different parts of the country, different parts of the world, claim the same thing in that one specific cell or down that end part of that hallway there.
Somebody's poking them like right here on the side. And that's the same height of the little openings in the cells where you get the food through. It's like when somebody goes by there, it's like somebody's putting their hand out and poking you as you go by.
They did share that there's one area that they tend to avoid, and that's known as the dark side. The area of the jail Natasha mentioned earlier, where the worst of the worst were held. This is where the most violent convicts were often locked up alone in their cells for 23 hours a day, awaiting their execution.
It's the never-ending sensation of being not alone when you're alone. There has been many occasions where you feel like somebody's watching you down the hallway, and there has been a couple of occasions where I've back up the hallway because I feel that sensation. I've seen faces poked out of the cells looking down the hallway at me. Yeah, it's like they're trying to lure you back down the hallway. So it's like, hey, I see you down there. You want to come visit me? Like, no, I'm okay right where I'm at. They are notorious for poking their heads out and or even like half body, like out the cell looking down at you, and then they'll. So, like, I have no need to be in that room right now.
Natasha says sometimes the figures don't disappear quickly. They move slowly, stepping back into the cells as if they're trying to draw you closer. Even guests have experienced it.
Multiple guests. And it intensifies by about 10 times after dark.
When it rains here is the best time because it's like when it's nighttime raining, and if you get thunder, you got the perfect time. I get out of my unit and I walk around the jail in the dark, just with the craziest goosebumps on my body. It's that's the freest, coolest entertainment you can get.
For Bill and Natasha, it seems that whatever is within the jail always makes their presence known.
They love the electronics. They love to play with the electronics. We're famous for getting phantom knocks on our residential door 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. There's nobody there. You hear a lot of footsteps up and down the hallways, up and down the stairs, including in the attic. Yeah, it's all the senses. You get smells sometimes. I've had people say like whiffs of tobacco smoke, or it smells really clean like a hospital. And then you'll get whiffs of cologne sometimes.
Or the cold spot that's right there. When I do some tours, or Natasha, there's one area and you can almost put your arms around it like this, like 1 meter squared, where there's a cold chill in the middle of a building, and people, it's like you're walking through something that's in the air. And I've had so many people say, something like hit me in the face. I'm going, yeah, we got something going on right there where you walk through. Just don't worry about that. That's kind of weird, but it's there all the time. Yeah, it's an energy type of thing that just
very visible temperature.
Oh, heck, 100%.
Over the years, dozens of paranormal teams have investigated the jail. Most stayed overnight, but one team didn't.
Yeah, so we did actually have a paranormal team here. They've been doing it a long time, so they weren't novice by any means.
This makes me proud of the jail when you hear this story.
So they had all their gadgets out, and they had the place all wired up with their infrared cameras and stuff. And they were down the dark side, and still to this day, I don't know what happened. And I'm kind of glad I don't know what happened, because I got to go back there. And all of a sudden, there was like 10 people and 5 cars. And within a 10-minute time span, everything was taken down, packed up in their trucks, and they were on their vehicles way back home. And they were driving 3 or 4 hours back home at 2 o'clock in the morning.
They had called us at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and they had asked for, so we're up all night. We don't mind that. And they asked for the lights to be turned off or on or something like that. And everything was fine. And Natasha checked and said, yeah, everything was good. And 10 minutes later, they were all packed up and gone. And I have it on my camera where you can see and fast forward, everybody getting their lights, and then zoom, everybody's gone and the parking lot's empty. But they got the shit scared right out of them, and they ran away. And that was a paranormal team. That day, nope.
We reached out. Hey, we noticed you guys left. I just wanted to make sure everything was okay. And she says, we think we wore out our welcome. We're going to leave.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, we were told our welcome is worn out or something along that line. And they split. And and a paranormal team, I'm going, wow.
That was the first.
Wow, that's something.
We have had the occasional guest leave, because it's maybe a little bit more than what they were anticipating. But yeah, for a paranormal team to pack up all their gear and leave just like that was.
Today, People come from all over to stay in the Dorchester jail. Some come for the history, and others for the experience.
Kane Hodder, he was the actor Jason from Friday the 13th movies. He came here and he did an autograph session, a meet and greet for people, and we sold crazy tickets for it. It was hugely successful, and we had a lot of personal time with him as well in the jail here. And he did the whole tour. Natasha took him on death row. We got pictures of it. He signed the building. We wrote "Go to Hell." Unbelievable. And that was great. So we got a lot of people that came after that. He gave us autographed pictures, and it was a great old time.
After nearly a decade of living in the jail, Bill and Natasha believe something is still there. Not evil, not violent, just something that never left. And that something has connected to them.
I will say Bill and I, we don't actively go around looking for the paranormal. They find us without having to kind of open up and use the gadgets and things. They have their ways to kind of convey what they need us to know. And that's one of the very, very special things about being here. The building feels the love that we give to it, and it gives it right back to us.
The doors at the Dorchester jail still close the same way they always have, heavy and final. But these days, they don't lock people in. Guests arrive with curiosity, with cameras, with questions. Some are drawn by the history, the stories of crime, punishment, and justice. Others come looking for something more. Some people say places hold energy. And some people believe that when a place has seen enough of death, that the past doesn't stay in the past. Thank you for joining me as we explored the Dorchester jail, and a special thanks to Bill Steele and Natasha Marsh for taking the time to talk with me. I really do appreciate it. If you want to check out the Dorchester jail and maybe stay a few nights, I will link their website in the show notes. Do you have a ghost story or paranormal encounter? If yes, email it to me so I can share it with the listeners on this podcast. Haunted Canada is sponsored by the Edmonton Ghost Tours. I will link the website in the show notes. Haunted Canada is written and produced by me, Nadine Bailey, with senior producer Dila Velasquez. Production and sound design is by Rob Johnston, with help from Corey Price. If you would like to support this podcast, please follow, share, and tell a friend about this podcast. We would also appreciate a like and a 5-star written review. Also, you can follow me on our different social media platforms, including TikTok and my YouTube channel, Haunted Canada. Do you have a ghost story, haunting, or a true crime about a house, museum, or resort, really anywhere for that fact, that you would like for us to cover on this podcast? If yes, you can email me through the website, hauntedcanada.com. Hey everyone, I've got some more exciting news. I will be hosting a haunted and paranormal tour of Ireland in partnership with my friend Joanne at Expedia. We will be visiting haunted locations, staying in haunted castles, and exploring many historical places while delving into ghosts, hauntings, and paranormal activity, so make sure to bring your EMF readers with you. The haunted tour will be happening this August 2026, so for more information, just visit the website hauntedcanada.com. Check out my TikTok. I have it linked everywhere. Remember, space is limited, so book early. Thank you from all of us at Haunted Canada and Curious Cast. Have a good night, everyone, and stay haunted.